Hello and welcome to Administration Wise. In this video, we will go through administrative thinker, and the very first thinker in this series is F.W. Taylor, and we will also look upon the scientific management that is given by F.W. Taylor. Source for all the information is taken from Prasad and Prasad book. So it was 20th century. The first ever serious effort was made by Frederick Winslow Taylor to make research in the management of industry in USA. It was in USA. He is one of the most influential person who made very significant impact on management science and thought. A mechanical engineer, he sought to improve industrial efficiency, and he is regarded as the father of scientific management. He was known as the father of scientific management and was the one of the first management consultant. Though a controversial figure in the management history, he was considered as one of the intellectual leader of efficiency movement, and his ideas were highly influential. He was a pioneer of modern management approaches and techniques. Taylor believed that the best management is a true science. His belief is that the best management is the true science, and it is applicable to all kinds of human activities. He believed that his principles of management are applicable with equal force to all the social activities, to the management of homes, farms, churches, be it be philanthropic institutions or universities and the government departments. A study of Taylor's life and ideas, therefore, is indispensable for everyone concerned with the administration and to the field of management. Hence, let us quickly go through his early life. He born in the German town known as Pennsylvania on 20th March 1856, and he studied for 2 years in France and Germany, and in 1872 entered to the Phillips Exeter Academy at Exeter, New Hampshire, and although he passed the entrance examination for Harvard Law School, he could not continue his academic pursuit because of his impaired eyesight. Because he used to study in kerosene light for so long, his eyesight were get impaired. And in 1873, at the age of 18, he joined the enterprise called Hydraulic Work of Philadelphia and served as apprentice for 4 years without any wages, and in 1878 he went to work at the Midwell Steel Company as a laborer, and over years was promoted as gang boss, foreman, and research director, and finally became chief engineer in 1884. Taylor received a master's degree in the mechanical engineering, and it was from Stevens Institute of Technology of Hoboken, New Jersey, through night study and correspondence courses, and which was most unusual at that time. In 1890, he became general manager of manufacturing investment company in Philadelphia. In 1893, he started a consulting agency in Philadelphia. In 1898, Taylor joined the Bethlehem Steel, and where he developed a high-speed steel with his colleagues, for which he received a gold medal at the Paris exhibition in 1900 and was awarded by Elliott Cresson Gold Medal by Franklin Institute of Philadelphia in 1906. He was awarded from the honorary doctorate of science of by University of Pennsylvania, and he also worked as professor at Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth College. Taylor published a large number of papers based on his studies and research, and made presentations before professional bodies, and he invented a cutting tool, a hammer, a hydraulic power loading machine, a tool feeding machine, and a boring and a turning mill. From 1901, he devoted his time for research for improving the technique of scientific management till his death on 28th of March 1915. He became president of the American Society of Mechanical Engineers in 1906, and Taylor is important and interesting not only because of his work but also because of his personality, his passion and for efficiency. He was boundless, and his capacity for work phenomenal. His incredibly active life illustrates a remarkable character. Now, his first thought is about soldiering. Before we go through scientific management, let us understand about soldiering. What is soldiering? According to Taylor, he used to believe that the industrial management during his time was amateur and felt that best result could be achieved through partnership between trained staff, qualified management and cooperative workers. He noticed that a phenomenon of worker purposely operating below their capacity and called the phenomena as soldiering. Means the worker is probably underperforming due to the phenomena of soldiering and skiving. He attributed three reasons for this. What are these three reasons? These are the workers deliberately do as little as one can safely do due to the belief that if they become more productive, some of them would become surplus and would be eliminated. मीन्स ज्यादा काम करके भी कोई फायदा है नहीं, और कोई अगर ज्यादा काम कर भी ले रहा है तो कोई उसमें से सरप्लस काम करेगा और उनमें से कोई हो सकता है एलिमिनेट हो जाए. Non-incentive based system encourage low productivity, and employees take care never to the work at high pace for the fear that the higher pace may become the standard, as a result of which the employees fear that their wages may not be increased or may also come down. तो ज्यादा काम करने से हो सकता है काम जल्दी निपटने लगे और इससे उनके वेजेस कम हो जाए, ऐसा भी डर है. और तीसरा रीजन है दैट द वर्कर्स वेस्ट their time and effort by relying on the rule of thumb and unscientific method and practices than those scientifically determined. Means the workers are yet relying on the rule of thumb and unscientific methods because of the practices that were earlier going on. To encounter the practices of soldiering and to improve the efficiency, Taylor undertook experiments to determine the best level of performance for jobs, and the process of the present-day benchmarking and what was necessarily necessary to achieve this level of performance. They were characterized by the use of stopwatches and to time a worker sequence of motions with the objective of determining the one best way to perform a job. रूल ऑफ थंब से ये किधर जा रहे थे? वन बेस्ट वे टू परफॉर्म अ जॉब. Still attracted public attention in 1880 when he reduced the number of workers shoveling coal at the Bethlehem Steel Works from 500 to 140, and without any loss of the production. The term scientific management here is a catch for examination purpose that the term scientific management, which was originally associated with the theorem given by Taylor but was not coined by F. W. Taylor. Rather, it was the Louis Brandeis who coined this term when he, as the judge of Supreme Court during his argument before the Interstate Commerce Commission in 1910, Brandeis argued that the railroads could save $1 million a day, and by applying the scientific management methods, Taylor was initially opposed to the phrase used by the Bethlehem, used by Brandeis, but thinking that it sounded too academic, later used it as the title of his monograph, The Principle of Scientific Management, and it was published in the year 1911. The Principle of Scientific Management, published in the year 1911. So how the Principle of Scientific Management was published or developed? During the latter year of the 19th century, a new industrial climate began to descend upon the American business, giving rise to the growth of managerial class. The practice of management began to change from a day-to-day problem-solving approach to a more all-inclusive, comprehensive, long-term approach to grapple with the emerging managerial problems which were not faced previously, and prominent leaders like Henry Arton and Henry Metcalfe tried to develop a unified system of management, and Ton called this new philosophy science of management. Ton in 1886 presented a paper titled The Engineer as an Economist. 1886 में एक पेपर आया था The Engineer as economists to the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, and the Taylor, who joined the society in the same year, was inspired by Tom's ideas and directed his work to understand all the facets of firm and to develop scientific management. Taylor's contribution to the development of scientific management was recorded in his paper. These papers had already been asked in in the examination many a times. These are a piece rate system. Piece rate system published in the year 1895. Second one is shop management, published in the year 1903. Third one is the art of cutting metal. It was 1906, and the last one is the principle of scientific management. The principle of scientific management. It was published in the year 1911. Taylor's first paper, A Piece Rate System, was considered as one of the outstanding contributions to the principle of wage administration, and he proposed a new system consisting of three parts. These are the observation and analysis of work through time study to set the rate or standard, and second one is a differential rate system of piecework. First one is time study. Second one is differential rate system for piece of work. Second one is differential rate system. And the third one is paying men and not to the position. Paying men and not to position. In his second paper on the shop management, he discussed at the length works of organization and the management. He focused his attention in this paper to his philosophy of management, and to him the objective of management should be to pay high wages and have low unit production cost to achieve the increased industrial efficiency, and the other objectives of the philosophy include these are the application of scientific methods of research and experiments to the management problems. Second is the standardization of the working condition and place the workers on the basics of scientific criteria, giving formal training to the workers and specific instructions to perform the prescribed motions with standardized tools and materials, and to ensure the friendly cooperation between the workers and the management. Taylor wanted to develop a new and total concept of management to advocate that the traditional managers, instead of being authoritarian, should develop a new approach and change to a more comprehensive and broader view of their job, incorporating the elements of planning, organizing and controlling. While at the Midwell Steel Company, after serious observation and study of operation of factories, he identified many defects in the management. They include the management had no clear understanding of the worker management responsibility. They were not effective in the standards of work. They restricted output because of natural soldiering and systematic soldiering of the work by the workers. The failure of the management to design jobs properly and to offer the proper incentive to the workers to overcome the problem of soldiering, and most decisions of the management were unscientific as they were based on the hunch institution past experiences and the rule of thumb. Lack of proper studies about the division of work and among the departments and placement of the workers without consideration of their ability and aptitude and the interest. Taylor also experienced a bitter labor management conflict, particularly between foremen and the workers over the quantity of output, and he failed to resolve the problem by persuasion and even force, and realizing that the new industrial schemes was essential to prevent encounters, he began searching for the science of work, and in the process he conducted a series of experiments for more than 2 decades, and he experimented with machine tools, the speed, the metals, the materials, etc. And his experiments at the Midwell and Bethel Steel Company led to the discovery of high-speed steel that revolutionized the art of cutting metal, and his paper on the art of cutting metal represented the American Society of Mechanical Engineers as presidential address to the year 1906 was considered as most remarkable ever presented to the learned society, and the paper was based on the longest and most exhaustive series of around 30,000 to 50,000 recorded experiments and the experimental tools, in the addition to many unrecorded conducted over a period of 26 years of long duration at the cost of around 2 lakh dollar. And the experiment was designed to find the answers to recurring questions like what tools should be used and what should be the cutting speed, what feed should be used, and etc. The achievements of the metal cutting experiment were considered more important than Taylor's other contribution because they initiated a major breakthrough in the development of the American industry. In the development of soap system, the tailor wished to know that under controlled condition how long a man or a machine would or should take to perform a given task in a method to determine empirically instead of traditionally the right way to perform tasks, and with the help of a stopwatch. And Taylor recognized the need for the scientific method of selection of the right man for the right job, considering right man for right job, considering their initial qualification and potential for further learning, and he wanted the effective supervision of the workers and his working conditions after placing the worker in the right place. And Taylor also wanted to lay down the foundation for sound personnel management and to match the workers' abilities to the job. And in the other experiment, he also worked on the motion and time study, and he analyzed how the workers handle the material. These are all about task design, the time management, the work management, and how to handle materials and machines and tools, and developed a coordinated system of the shop management. Taylor set out to determine the scientifically the ability of the worker to deal with the equipment and material, and this approach led to the true beginning of the scientific management. Taylor's concept of the management, the principal objective of the management according to Taylor is to secure the maximum prosperity for the employer, maximum prosperity to employer, and coupled with the maximum prosperity for each employee, means employer plus employee also. His philosophy of the scientific management is that there is no inherent conflict in the interest of the employer, worker, and the consumer, and the primary concern of the Taylor was the result of the higher productivity and should equally benefit all the person and people, that is worker, employer, and the consumers, in the shape of the higher wages to the workers, greater profits to the management, and payment of the lower price for products of the consumer. And Taylor observed that the management neglected its function and shifted its burden to the labor while keeping for itself the minor responsibilities, and he hence advised that the management should take a responsibility in determining the standard of work, planning the work, organizing and controlling, and devising the incentive scheme. What are the principles of scientific management? Taylor also emphasized in the interest of scientific prosperity, close collaboration and deliberate cooperation between the workmen and the management for the application of the scientific methods, and his philosophy of the management was based on four basic principles of the scientific management. These are development of a true science, that is scientific task design in order to analyze the task to determine the most efficient way to perform them, scientific selection and training, scientific education and development of the workers in order to foster the collaboration to ensure work is done efficiently, and the division of work in order to divide work and responsibilities between the management and the workers. Now, development of a true science or scientific task design. When the science is viewed as the organized knowledge, every act of workman can be reduced to science in the interest of the worker and the management, and it is necessary to know as to what constitutes a fair day work, and it saves the workers from unnecessary criticism of the boss, and also enables the management to get a maximum work from the worker, and this needs a scientific investigation of a large daily task to be done by qualified workers and under the optimum condition, and this can be done by gathering traditional knowledge of workers, which are their lifelong fixed capital and most valuable property. Hence the result of investigation have to be classified, tabulated and reduced into the rules and laws to find out the ideal working methods, or what is called the one best way to do a job. And such a development of science of work enables the organization to produce more and enable the workers to receive the higher wages and a much higher profit to the company. Scientific selection and the progressive development of the workmen क्या है? There is a need to select the worker scientifically, processing the physical and intellectual qualities to ensure the effective performance of scientifically developed work, and this needs a deliberate study of the aptitude, nature, and the performance of the worker, finding out what possibility and limitations one have for the future development. And Taylor believed that every worker has the potential for development, and he insisted that every worker must be scientifically trained. Taylor felt that the responsibility of the management is to develop the worker, offering him the opportunities for the advancement to do the job to the fullest realization of his natural capacities, and hence it is necessary to ensure the employees accept the new method, tool, and condition willingly and enthusiastically, bringing together science of the work and scientifically selected trained men. In order to do this, the worker should do his job, and to ensure that he may not slip back to the earlier method of doing work, there must be somebody to inspire the worker, and this Taylor felt is the exclusive responsibility of the management. This is the exclusive responsibility of the management. Exclusive responsibility of management. He believed that the workers are always willing to cooperate with the management, but there is no more opposition from the side of the management. Taylor maintained that this process of bringing together causes the mental revolution. Hence, it emphasized on the importance of the scientifically selecting the and training of the workers, and he believed that the workers should be chosen and on the basis of their abilities and trained to perform the task using the best method identified through the scientific study. Cooperation between the management and the worker. In the traditional management theory, the worker has entirely responsible for the work and the management has lesser responsibilities, but Taylor's scientific management assumes that the equal responsibilities between the management and the worker, and this division of work creates between them an understanding and the mutual dependence. It creates a understanding. It creates a understanding and mutual dependence. There will be also a constant and intimate cooperation between them, and this results in the elimination of the conflict and strike. This will eliminate conflict. None of the above principles, however, could be isolated and called the scientific management, and it is the combination of all the elements that constitutes the scientific management, and the philosophy of these principles may be summarized as science and not the rule of thumb. First one is science and not the rule of thumb. Second one is harmony, not discord. Not discord. Third one is cooperation, not individualism. Fourth one is maximum output in place of restricted output. Maximum output rather than restricted output. And the fifth one is the development of each one to his greatest efficiency and prosperity. Now, division of work and functional foremanship क्या है? And functional foremanship. Taylor noted that the efficacy of the linear system or the military type of organization in which each worker is the subordinate to only one boss, he replaced this system with what is called as functional foremanship, in which the workers receives order from 8 specialist supervisor. It was 8 specialist supervisor means 8 functional bosses for which the four are responsible for planning, four responsible for planning, and four responsible for execution. The planning bosses are the gang boss, the repair boss, the speed boss, and the inspector. These are execution bosses. And the planning bosses are the route clerk, the instruction card clerk, time and cost clerk, and the shop disciplinarian. These are the planning bosses. Taylor believed that the functional type of the organization, the foreman can be trained quickly and the specialization becomes very easy, and this concept of division of work between the planning and execution was subsequently incorporated in the staff specialist in line and the staff concept. And Taylor specified 9 qualities: the education, technical knowledge, manual dexterity, strength, tact, energy, grit, honesty, judgment, good health, etc., which will make a human a foreman. And apart from the functional foremanship, Taylor also developed the mechanism to operate his principles of the scientific management, and they include the time study with the implementations of and the methods for the properly making these all. The standardization of all the tools and implements act of the movements of the workmen for each class of work, the desirability and planning the room or the department, the exception principle in the management, use of the slide rules and the similar time-saving implements, the instruction cards for the workmen, the task idea in the management and accompanied by the large bonus for the successful performance of the task, and the differential rate system, mnemonic system for classifying the manufactured products as well as the implements used in the manufacturing a routing system and the modern cost system. Taylor observed that the scientific management is not an efficiency device. To him, it is not a new scheme also that to pay a man, and even not a new system of figuring the cost, not a time study or the motion study, and it is not the divided foremanship or the functional foremanship. Taylor believed that in all these efficiency devices must be emphasized that in whole or in part they are not the scientific management, they are usually useful adjuncts to the scientific management, as they are also useful adjunct of the other system of the management. Next one is mental revolution. How the idea of scientific management caused mental revolution. The scientific management, according to the Taylor, primarily involves a complete mental revolution on the part of the workers and the management as to their duties towards the work and towards the fellow workers and towards all of their daily problems. It demands the realization of the fact that their mutual interests are not antagonistic, and mutual prosperity is possible only through the mutual cooperation, and without this the great mental revolution on the both sides. Taylor said the scientific management does not exist, and Taylor was of the view that the great revolution that takes place in the mental attitude of the two sides under the scientific management is that the both parties take their eyes off the division of the surplus as the all the important matters, and together turn their attention toward increasing the size of surplus until the surplus becomes so large that it becomes unnecessary to quarrel over how it should be divided, and then both the sides stop pulling against one another and instead both turn the push soldier to soldier in the same direction till the size of the surplus created by their joint effort is truly एस्ट्रोनॉटिंग मीन्स जो मैनेजमेंट है और वर्कर्स ये अपोजिट डायरेक्शन में पुल ना करे बल्कि ये सेम डायरेक्शन में पुल करे ताकि जो साइज है सरप्लस का वो और ज्यादा इंक्रीज हो जाए और इससे ओवरऑल जो फैक्ट्री है जो इंडस्ट्री है उसको फायदा हो. Both the sides realize that the friendly cooperation and the mutual helpfulness make the surplus so enormously greater than it was in the past, and there is ample room for the large increase in the wages of the workers and equally great increase in the profits of the management. It is along this line of complete change in the mental attitude of both the sides of the substitution of peace for the war, the substitution of hearty brotherly cooperation, and for the contention and strife of both the pulling hard in the same direction instead of pulling apart or replacing suspicious watchfulness and with mutual confidence or becoming the friends instead of enemies. Taylor said that along this line, scientific management must be developed. Now, criticism and relevance to the modern administration. Although the scientific management became something of the movement and offered a hope resolving the industrial problem and organizing the labor and managers as well as the antagonistic to it, the trade unions were against the method of increasing output by introduction of the premium bonus system, and the labor leaders considered the Taylorism as not only destroying the trade unionism but also destroying the principle of collaborative and collective bargaining, and they thought that the system was a menace to the community of at large as it causes the continuous increase in the unemployment, and trade unions felt that the tailor was more interested in the mechanical aspect of the work and not much concerned with the total work situation, means a kind of mechanical approach. Scientific management, though it had enormous impact on the industry and improved the productivity, it increased the monotony and resulted in the absence of skill variety. The use of the stopwatches was were protested and led to the strikes where the Taylorism was under implementation, and there were complaints that the Taylorism was dehumanizing, and a number of the agitations by the labor organization and their representation to the American Congress led to a special committee of the House of Representatives to investigate into the terrorism in the year 1912, and although the report of the committee neither clearly favored the labor nor the tailor, and the trade unions in 1915 succeeded in granting the amendment to the Army Appropriation Act and forbidding the use of stopwatches or the payment of the premiums to the bonuses in the army arsenal, and it was only in 1949 that these restrictions were lifted, and the trade unions' opposition to the Taylorism was also led to the investigation conducted by Professor Robert Hoxie for the United States Commission on Industrial Relations, and in his report, Hoxie criticized the scientific management and Taylor's approaches as they were concerned only with the mechanical aspect and not with the human aspect of the production, and the report was also stated that the scientific ideals of the scientific management and the labor unionism were incompatible. Taylorism was also often attacked by the managers and those who wanted quick promotions to the higher managerial positions without any merit based on the higher education opposed Taylor's stand, and which advocated the training by highly trained experts. The managers did not appreciate his scornful comments on the rule of thumb method, and those who had fought their way to higher managerial positions without the benefit of higher education were sensitive to the Taylor's stand, and that unless assisted by highly trained experts, they were unqualified to manage. And it is very interesting to note that the Taylor had also resigned from both the Midwell and the Bethlehem Steel because the friction with the company manager. Oliver Sheldon, a British management expert, Mary Parker Foley, an American business philosopher, Sam Lewis John, the Elton Mayo, Peter Drucker, and others criticized Taylor's ideas. They charged that Taylor's scientific management was impersonal, underemphasized the human factor, and underemphasized the human factor. This criticism led a series of experiments in the industrial sociology and social psychology, the classic Hawthorne experiment of Elton Mayo and other studies of the human relation and group dynamics in the industry rejected the Taylorism, and Elton Mayo, through his classic Hawthorne investigation, conclusively proved it is not a structural arrangement of the organization which are important for increasing the productivity and efficiency, but it is the emotional attitude of the workers toward his work and his colleagues. Taylor's philosophy bronze uh, is that the men were generally lazy and tried to avoid work has also been disputed, and it is evident from the bronze analysis that the work is essential part of the man's life, and since it is aspect of the life which gives him the status and binds him to the society, when they do not like it, the fault lies in the psychological and the social condition of the job rather than that of the worker. And the behavioralists charge that the Taylor's method of the scientific management sacrifices the initiative of the worker and his individual freedom and the use of intelligence and responsibility. Simon and Marsh described the scientific management as the psychophysiological organization theory. There are also criticism that the Taylorism is dehumanizing and the industry and made the workers automatons and assumed that the workers are satisfied with the money alone, means the concept of economic man is de-emphasized, and it is only emphasized that the worker is satisfied by money alone, means a economy man rather than economic man. Another criticism of the Taylor is that he did not properly understand the anatomy of the work, and Taylor's emphasis on the minute division of the work and specialization was severely criticized on the several grounds. And firstly, the work gets depersonalized and the worker become a mere cog of the machine, and the relations between the worker and the executives become remote, and as a result of which the worker lacks the sense of the participation in the work, and more than anything the worker finds no outlet to exhibit his abilities and potential. Secondly, it may even lead to the automation of the workers, which may have physiological and neurological consequences, and as aptly put by Peter Drucker, the organization becomes a piece of door engineering judged by the standards of the human relations as well as by those productive efficiency and the output. Thirdly, the Taylor's division of work into the planning and executive divisions was severely been criticized, and it is argued that such situation it is difficult to develop proper team spirit, and if planning is totally divorced from the execution, and it is difficult to secure the participation of the workers in the progress of the firm. And hence, it has also been argued that the Taylor overlooked the fact that the principle of division and subdivision of work into the minutest part of the subject to the law of diminishing the returns. Taylor's philosophy was summarized in the following words here: that the first, he confuses the principle of analysis with the principles of action. He confuses the principle of analysis with principle of action. Second, the planning and doing are the separate part of the same job, and they cannot be totally divorced, and hence there are studies however which counter some of these criticisms. For example, the scientific significance is to note that the Taylor himself recognized the potential for abuse of his methods, and this is clear when he said it may be used more or less as a club to drive the workmen into doing a larger day's work for approximately the same pay that they received in the past, and some argued that the current literature presents a partial view of the Taylor's work, but the fact is that the Taylor anticipated the several key motivational strategies and generally associated with the human relation movement, and he created a sense of mission and encouraged two-way communication, understood that the higher needs are also important as against the economic man approach used esteem as a motivator and gave workers a chance at the self-actualization, etc. And it is also argued that the Taylor's writing shows that the use of the managers to realize the technical success requires enhanced human relations, and to get an accurate sense of the Taylor's message, one has to read his own account. In order to conclude this, despite the limitations, which is adequate understanding of the human psychology, sociology, and anatomy of the work, Taylor's work remained important. By all the accounts, Taylor must be regarded as the pioneer in the study of human beings at the workplace, and he was the first to apply the quantitative technique to study the industrial management and modern scientific management operations research, method study, time study, and the analysis management, system analysis, etc., and are all the part of the Taylor's heritage, and his concept of work design, measurement, production, control, etc. changed the nature of the industry and began to establish the department of the work study, quality control, etc. And Taylor's scientific management became something of the movement, and in an age of growing the achievement in physical sciences, it offered the hope of resolving industrial problems through the use of objective principles, and for young and imaginative engineers, it provided an ethos and a mission. After the initial period of the resistance, it conquered the citadel of old-fashioned industrial management in the United States and had a tremendous effect on the industrial practices, and it even spread to the Germany, England, France, USSR, and other European countries. Scientific management was supported in Russia, and Taylor's principles were included in the curriculum of education and training of the engineers, and Taylor in brief combined the theory and practices, thought and experiment, and doing and teaching of all in one life, and his scientific management had a major influence on the growing reform and economic movement in the public administration as well. Hence the F.W. Taylor scientific management principles revolutionized the management practices, and they continue the influence in the field of public administration by promoting the efficiency and the productivity. The impact can be seen in the several disciplines uh, other than public administration. These are education, library science, architecture, health, military, and gender also. In brief, we can conclude or revise it as the F.W. Taylor, a mechanical engineer by training, and was regarded as the father of scientific management for his pioneering work in the study of the human being at the workplace, and based on the extensive studies of the industrial work situation, Taylor identified the defects on the management and proposed a philosophy of the scientific management for industrial efficiency, and was subsequently labeled as scientific management by the Louis Brandeis. And Taylor's philosophy of the scientific management is that there is no inherent conflict in the interest of the employees and workers and consumers. And based on the philosophy, he developed four principles of the scientific management. These are the development of true science of the work, the scientific selection of the workers, the scientific education, and the development of workers, and initiate intimate and friendly cooperation between the management and the men. Taylor developed many management techniques like functional foremanship, time and motion studies, piece rate system, the standardization of the tools and the exception principles and differential rate system, etc., as application tools of the scientific management, and the tools Taylor felt will help in identifying one best way of doing the things. And the essence of the scientific management, according to the Taylor, is mental revolution, that is the change of the attitude on the part of the workers and the management towards their work and their relationships. Both trade unions and the managers of the day were very critical of the scientific management, and though the different regions, the trade unions considered the scientific management as the anti-labor and anti-trade union, focusing on the mechanical aspect of the work and ignoring the human aspect, and the labor organization protested the dehumanizing aspect of the tailoring. The managers did not appreciated the criticism of the rule of thumb method and the prescription of the technical training to the managers to increase the efficiency and effectiveness in the organization. Taylor's principles and prescriptions were criticized by the letter writers and their failures to the understanding the anatomy of the work. Simon and March characterized the scientific management as the physiological organization theory, and the Taylor's work, in spite of limitation and criticism, greatly influenced the study and the practices of the industrial administration in the modern world. And Taylor's heritage is visible in the many modern management techniques like the operation research, method study, time study, etc. And the Taylor should be given due credit for laying the foundation to the systematic study of the work and worker. Hence, that's all for all about the Taylor. This PDF will be uploaded on our Telegram group. Please join it. The link is already provided in the description box. We will continue with all other administrative thinkers related to the syllabus of public administration in the subsequent videos based on your responses and enthusiasm. Till then, keep signing. Thank you.